The United States Constitution, once a beacon of individual liberty and limited government, is under siege. A sprawling federal bureaucracy has entangled Americans in a web of laws, restrictions, and regulations. These rules and directives dictate nearly every aspect of our lives. How did we arrive at this point? How did we let this happen? How many federal laws actually exist? The truth is, no one knows for sure. You're probably breaking a law right now. Some estimates place the number of federal regulations in the millions. This vast and ever-growing body of law makes it virtually impossible for even legal experts to navigate. This complexity creates an environment ripe for abuse and selective enforcement. Average citizens stand little chance of comprehending the full scope of their legal obligations. This is not the system of ordered liberty envisioned by our founding fathers. This is close to what they fought a war against. It is a system of control, where the power of the federal government knows no bounds. This unchecked growth of federal authority threatens the very fabric of our republic. In 1787, our founding fathers gathered to draft the Constitution. They understood the dangers of an overreaching government. Their experience under British rule had taught them that power, once consolidated, is rarely relinquished willingly. The Constitution, therefore, was carefully crafted to limit the power of the federal government. The founding fathers envisioned a system where the federal government's role was limited to specific, enumerated powers. These powers involved national defense, foreign policy, and regulating commerce between states and not much else. The government has no power to regulate every aspect of our daily lives. All other powers were reserved to the states or the people. This design ensured that government remained close to the people and responsive to their needs. The Bill of Rights further enshrined individual liberties, protecting them from government infringement. Our Second Amendment, for instance, guarantees an individual's right to keep and bear arms, a right deemed essential to resist tyranny. The 10th Amendment explicitly states that any powers not delegated to the federal government are reserved for the states or the people. These founding principles are under attack today as the federal government continues its relentless expansion. Today, the federal government has inserted itself into virtually every aspect of American life. This intrusion is most evident in the overwhelming number of federal regulations in existence. These regulations, often created by unelected bureaucrats, carry the force of law. They dictate everything from the food we eat to the cars we drive. While pinpointing the exact number of federal regulations is a Herculean task, some estimates place the figure in the millions. The sheer volume of these regulations makes it nearly impossible for citizens to live their lives without inadvertently running afoul of the law. This regulatory labyrinth creates a climate of fear and uncertainty, making it difficult for businesses to thrive and for individuals to exercise their freedoms. This regulatory overreach has real consequences. It stifles innovation, increases the cost of goods and services, and undermines individual liberty. It is a far cry from the system of limited government envisioned by our founding fathers. Section 4. Navigating the Legal Maze. Statutes at Large versus the United States Code. The task of quantifying federal law is further complicated by the distinction between the statutes at large and the United States Code. The statutes at large is a chronological compilation of every law passed by Congress. It represents the raw legislative output of the federal government. The United States Code, on the other hand, is a subject matter organization of the general and permanent laws of the United States. While the United States Code is intended to be a comprehensive and accessible compilation of federal law, it doesn't tell the whole story. Many federal regulations which carry the force of law are not found within its pages. These regulations are often buried within the Federal Register, a daily publication that can be difficult to navigate even for legal professionals. This distinction between statutes and regulations further highlights the immense scope of federal lawmaking. It underscores the difficulty in simply understanding the vast and complex web of rules governing our lives. Section 5. A futile quest. Counting the number of federal crimes. The overreach of the federal government is perhaps most evident in the proliferation of federal crimes. While the Constitution originally defined only a handful of federal crimes, such as treason and piracy, today there are thousands of federal crimes scattered throughout the United States Code and countless federal regulations. In 2006, the Congressional Research Service attempted to count the number of federal crimes. They abandoned the effort after identifying over 4,000 offenses. This failure underscores the absurdity of our current legal system. It is impossible for citizens to be aware of, let alone understand, the sheer volume of federal laws they are expected to obey. This proliferation of federal crimes has eroded the principle of mens rea, the guilty mind. This principle, central to our justice system, requires that prosecutors prove criminal intent. However, many federal crimes today are strict liability offenses, meaning that the government does not need to prove intent to secure a conviction. This creates a situation where individuals can be found guilty of crimes they did not even know they were committing. Section 6. The urgency of state sovereignty and curbing federal power. The relentless expansion of federal power has come at the expense of state sovereignty and loss of freedom. The Founding Fathers envisioned a system where the states served as laboratories of democracy, free to experiment with different policies and approaches to governance. This system allowed for greater individual liberty and ensured that government remained accountable to the people. However, the federal government has increasingly encroached upon the powers reserved to the states. Through mandates, preemption, and conditional funding, the federal government has coerced states into adopting its preferred policies. This has led to a homogenization of American law and culture, undermining the diversity and innovation that once characterized our nation. Reclaiming state sovereignty is essential to restoring the balance of power envisioned by the Constitution. States are better positioned to address the unique needs of their citizens. They are more responsive to local concerns and less likely to engage in one-size-fits-all solutions. By pushing power back to the states, we can create a more accountable, more representative, and ultimately more free society. Section 7. Reclaiming our birthright, a call to action. The time has come to reclaim our constitutional birthright. The continuous expansion of federal authority poses a grave threat to our liberties. We must demand that our elected officials honor their oath of office by respecting the limits placed upon the federal government by the Constitution. This means enacting a moratorium on new federal regulations and a systematic review of existing ones. It means ending the practice of federal agencies creating regulations with the force of law without explicit authorization from Congress. It means empowering states to resist federal overreach and to chart their own course. This is not a partisan issue. It is a matter of principle. The Constitution is not a living document to be molded by the whims of politicians and bureaucrats. It is the supreme law of the land, designed to protect our liberties from government encroachment. We must hold our elected officials accountable to their oaths to uphold and defend the Constitution. The future of our republic depends on it.